If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Abraham and wealth migration. Hi, I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Abraham moved because God told him to. Americans are moving because the economy is telling them to. Predictably, they're moving from high-tax states to low-tax states. The data to show the movement comes from government reports, so it's a little out of date, but it still proves the basic economic law stating that demand curve goes down as it always does. That means, all else being equal, people seek the same products and services at lower costs. Now, the data is from 2020, and it comes from a Wall Street Journal article titled "The Great Pandemic Wealth Migration." Social scientists spend their entire life waiting for a natural manipulation like the pandemic to see how people will respond. The reason it was such a golden opportunity was many people stopped working so they could choose where to live. Given a choice, economists expect people to choose locations with lower taxes, and guess what? They did. The data comes from IRS filings, so it's based on adjusted gross income moving from one state to another. So in the year 2020, Florida gained $24.7 billion in adjusted gross income. Texas gained $6.3 billion. 8 other states, Arizona, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Nevada, etc., gained between $1 and $5 billion each. The losing states are so predictable. I'll employ a teaching technique I use in my economics class at Dallas Baptist University. Go ahead, shout out the 2 states I'm about to say. You're probably right. The biggest losers, by a lot, are New York State, who lost just under $20 billion, and California, who lost just under $18 billion in adjusted gross income on IRS returns. See, this data is so predictable. States 3 to 5 on the losers list are Illinois, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. Also among the losers are Maryland, Ohio, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Although the data is getting old, there's much more about this in the 2014 book titled An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of States. The subtitle, How Taxes, Energy, and Worker Freedom Change Everything. Well, of course they change everything. Given a choice, people would rather pay lower taxes, lower energy costs, and have more freedom to sell their labor. It's just that the pandemic put people out of work or caused them to work at home, which gave them the freedom, and it made it easier for them to move. See, ceteris paribus is a Latin term that means all else being equal. See, the ceteris was not paribus any longer. Yeah. Not surprisingly, 4 of the 10 states that gained the most income in the IRS data imposed no income tax. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and Nevada. Go figure. Taxes. In our book, Biblical Economic Policy, Sergei Seidamatov and I state that taxes are stealing, and thus they're a violation of the 8th commandment. Civil societies allow taxes because we live in a fallen world and they're necessary to control evil. High tax proponents, usually Democrats, see taxes as a means of punishing wealth and as a means of income redistribution. They're so far along that path that I think to present them with a biblical view of taxes would just astound them. See, their assumption about punishing wealth is certainly not biblical, and their assumption that taxes should be used to redistribute wealth is a violation of the 10th commandment, don't covet. Most conversations about income inequality are violations of the 10th commandment. And now, states are finding out that given a choice, people would rather live in low tax rather than high tax states. See, if you get more for your high taxes, that might be worth considering. But people who live in high tax states don't get more. Schools aren't any better and the roads are not better. That's because, by the way, of the fallen nature. Politicians are good at pointing out the fallen nature of business people, but they're very bad at seeing the fallen nature among people who work in the government. They are fallen. I'm pretty sure of it. There's an old ethics story about a guy from Central America, a Central American country, who visits an Asian country and the governmental official says, "See that bridge over there? 10% in my pocket." Later in the story, the Asian official visits the Central American official who says to his visitor, "See that bridge over there?" The confused Asian responds, "There's no bridge over there." The proud Central American proclaims, "100% in my pocket." Okay, it's a mythical story. But with the Biden administration requiring federal projects be built by union labor, isn't that buying about 10% of the American vote? 10% in my pocket? A country divided. In podcast 72, I explained how the United States is being split into two worlds, half with the Christian worldview, half with other worldviews. That's a worldview split, and what we're seeing now is the geographic enactment of that split. On a more micro level, conservative folks in eastern Washington and Oregon are talking about leaving their liberal brethren and joining more conservative Idaho. The split is obvious in other national politics. The Lombard Party in northern Italy has wanted to split the country in two for many years. That's because the more Germanic northern provinces were ceded from the productive Austro-Hungarian Empire to Italy after World War I in 1918. Going back even further, Italy was composed of two regions in 1861, northern Italy and southern Italy. That's the political side. Now for the economic impact. If you draw a horizontal line just about north of Rome somewhere, northern Italy produces the tax revenue, southern Italy consumes it. There's a story about how the centralized Catholic Church contributed to that split when the Pope ran parts of central Italy for over 1,000 years, from the 8th to the 19th century. But I'll refrain from that history lesson today and move 2 countries west for my next story. The Catalonians in Spain have wanted to form their own country for years. The Barcelona region is more productive and thus wealthier than the other provinces. And of course, they pay more into the national purse in Madrid. It's a split similar to the one that's going on in America today. I'm sorry to say that quite often these splits are intentional. Politicians have done fingerprint level analysis to split groups into ever smaller groups to appeal for their votes. In the process, they're changing e pluribus unum into e pluribus pluribus. Don't miss the Christian aspect of this split. As I explained in podcast 72, the split is based in worldview differences. Dennis Prager says you can find the 3 American values on a coin: e pluribus unum, liberty, and in God we trust. The movement of people described in the 2020 IRS data splits the country into 2 groups: those who want e pluribus unum, liberty, and in God we trust, from the group who does not support those 3 concepts. Markets. What does this have to do with the economy? I think 2 economies will emerge, and based on the latest IRS data, it looks like it will divide by states. Markets will carry the day in traditional states where you can expect more free market competition in education, entertainment, housing, energy, and transportation, among many others. Sort of a side note, but I'm still thinking about the quote from Whole Foods founder John Mackey when he said, "Capitalism is humanity's greatest invention." Then is taxing humanity's worst invention? I'll make it easier. Defeating capitalism is humanity's worst invention. Then, the states who are chasing free market devotees out of their states are participating in humanity's worst invention. Oh, since I work in the education industry, I'll just add this comment. Since I'm on the faculty of a private university, I'm really anxious for free college to pass the legislature. See, if you have a basic understanding of economics, you know that what is offered free decreases in quality, and what people pay for increases in value. So it will clearly create a 2-tiered education system, with state colleges having the worst students, faculty, and staff, and the best students, faculty, and staff will move up to places like Dallas Baptist University. My self-interest means I'm pretty anxious for free college. Companies. See, there's a company-level analysis of this movement also. Caterpillar announced they were moving out of high-tax Illinois to low-tax Irving, Texas, just down the street from where I teach at Dallas Baptist University. We're happy to welcome them to town. They'll pay high salaries, create great wealth, and increase the market consumption in North Texas, where I live and work. Second, recently Boeing announced they're leaving Chicago also for Arlington, Virginia, moving to avoid powerful governments. I began the podcast talking about people movement in the Old Testament. There was some movement in the New Testament also. You will remember that Joseph and Mary fled from Bethlehem to Egypt to avoid the autocracy of King Herod. So people really do move to avoid powerful governments. I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Fear God, tell the truth, earn a profit. See you next time. For more information, please visit us online at davearnott.com. If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them online or in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.